Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GL365 Academy. Got a great one from Tom Petty today. We're going to learn how to do Wildflowers. So this one's not going to have too much going on in it. It's kind of repeats the same progression with a slight alteration in the chorus. And then we have this little bridge to take care of. But the only thing you really want to start with is standard tuned guitar, but a capo at the 5th fret. That's going to help you to get that nice airy quality this song has, and it'll make it a lot easier to play too. So this is how he's actually playing it, or he did play it. So 5th fret, capo. Now before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell. If you like these song lessons that I do on YouTube, really the best way to support them is to 1, share them, watch them, comment on them, and 2, join my Guitar Academy so I can afford to keep doing them. And you're going to see a link to that in the description below. That link will give you a free 7-day trial if you've never had an account before, and 40% off my annual rate, so that's only kind of a YouTube pricing, so you have to kind of click through from there. You won't find it on my website, but you find it there, and then you get full access to all of my courses. I got courses for complete beginners to more advanced courses on technique, improvisation, ear training theory, guitar tone. I do live streams every weekend with just Academy members. You get personalized support from me as well, so please check it out. And it really supports this YouTube content. It truly does. All right, let's jump into the song. So we're in standard tuning with a capo here at the 5th fret. Now we're going to start here. Let's just take a look at the chords first. So he's going to be holding this. So how I'm going to call this out is I'm going to kind of compare everything to the capo. So this is like a C major chord, right? Obviously you should play it down there, but it's compared to the capo, it's a C. In reality, it's an F, but who's counting? So we basically are gonna start here with this shape, which is, we're gonna call it an F shape, actual F shape, because it looks like one. So now this is gonna be the 3rd fret in front of the capo, then on the high E string, then the 1st fret in front of the capo on the B, 2nd fret above the capo on the G, and then 3rd fret above the capo on the D string. So what this form is if you played it obviously just without a capo in a normal position, 1st position down here on the guitar, this is an F major add 9 chord. So here, obviously in this, with this area of the fretboard, it's a B flat major add 9, but anyway, so that's kind of the 1st chord here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to keep these 2 fingers the same. You're going to take these 2 and move them over up 1 string each. So we're now at the 2nd fret there in front of the capo on the D string, and the 3rd fret in front of the capo on the A string. And that's kind of it's a C major shape. All right, and then we're going to kind of do the same thing again. Take these 2 fingers though this time. Well, we did that before actually, and move them down, up another string, whatever. Down in pitch, up and physically. But so we're going to move this from the to the 2nd fret in front of the capo on the A string, and this to the 3rd fret in front of the capo on the low E. And this time you're actually going to pick up the index finger to make it an open B string there. So we just have this. So it's just these 2 fingers just keep climbing up. And then when you get to this one, lift up your index finger. And then it goes back to the previous chord, that C shape. So that's the progression. And it kind of just goes through that. So that's kind of the main progression. Now, obviously, to make it sound like he does a series of hammer-ons or pull-offs throughout this progression that kind of spices it up a little bit. So it looks like this. So he's kind of he starts with this F shape, right? But don't have that middle finger on the string. You're gonna strum the chord first, and then hammer on that 2nd fret there on the G string. And then when you get to the C, the same thing's happening. You have the notes there to get ready to do the first hit on the C, but you're gonna have the D string open and hammer on once again with that middle finger. So it is. Now when you get to the G, remember you're lifting up this index finger, and then here what he does is he adds a pull up from that first fret back to the open B again. So at first it's off, but he throws that in there, so it looks like this. And then when he goes back to the C, once again, you're not going to have the middle finger on there when you first hit the chord. You're just going to do a hammer on right as soon as you hit it. So we have this all together. Let's repeat. All right, so it goes through that. So when you first hear this progression, it's played 2 times at the very beginning of the song with no vocals. Now, once the vocals come in, that's considering that verse 1, could be a chorus, whatever. The verse and choruses sound kind of very similar, but I'm just trying to break it apart like this. So the first time you hear, so when his vocals come in, we have that same progression that we just done played 4 more times. That 4 times, and then on the 4th time it has this little ending to it. It looks like this. So that is basically after when he got back to that last C chord. You kind of do the hammer on, but then he's going to extend the chord a little bit by going back to the open string. He strums it a little bit like that, making it a C sus2 shape, and then hammer that back on. So we have this one more time. All right, so from there, then we get to what I'm calling verse 2. This one's slightly different. Just the second time through the chord progression, instead of going back to the C, he holds on the G there. So let me see if you can pick that up. So it's still like kind of the same progression that we just did 4 times. But remember, there's just a slight variation on the second time through. So it looks like this. Alright, so that was just the same progression again that we've done so far. Now the second time through, you just do this. Just straight to the F, to the C, and then G. And you just kind of hold that G twice as long and then jump straight back to the first chord in the progression again without ever going back to that C. Now, you can do that little... When he gets to that part of the song where he's kind of holding on that G, which happens throughout the song, sometimes he's doing those pull-offs, that little pull-off. And sometimes he's not, you don't really hear it. So just use your ear, whatever you feel like doing there, because he kind of mixes that up too. And then the rest of the progression, the 3rd and 4th time through this second verse, just like we did before. All right, and then we get to the chorus. Now, the chorus sounds very similar, just the band kind of builds up a little bit. It's the same progression as verse 2. So that second time through, we're holding the G. And then, so it's the exact same progression that we just did for verse 2. The only thing is he adds that little ending that we had in verse 1, has that at the end of it. So I'll just kind of play through this. So this chorus, remember, it's just the same progression that we've just did for verse 2 with that little ending on it that we did earlier as well. So it looks like this all together. Then we get to finally a new progression, and this is the bridge. I'm calling it the bridge. It happens at the very end of the song as well too. Some chords kind of move by pretty quick here, so it looks like this. So that one's pretty fun. So it's going to start here with this F. So the first time we go through it, we're going to go away from this F add 9, F major add 9, and just play like a normal F shape, just kind of the bottom strings at least. So Tom will come over here and grab this with his thumb. So it's just basically the first fret here on the B, not really hitting the high E string. Don't hear him kind of going that high with the picking. He just hits the chord once, but it's just the first fret here on the B string in front of the capo, second fret in front of the capo on the G, then the third fret in front of the capo on the D and the A, and like I said, we have the thumb here at the first fret there in front of the capo on the low E. You can play that like this, if you just, but you'll see him play it like that. So you're just gonna hit this F major real quick. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to a C major chord in front of the capo, so just a standard C, but you're going to have the open E string underneath it, so it is. So it makes it a first inversion E from there. And then we're going to go to an A minor chord, just standard A minor in front of the capo. Obviously we know it's a D minor because it's the capo, but we're not confusing ourselves like that. So we have this F. So F, C with E in the bass, and then A minor. And then we go to a D major chord with F sharp in the bass, obviously compared to the capo. But instead of doing the full one that you usually see people do, he kind of just does this. It's just really kind of focusing on the lower strings. So you're already holding this, when you do the A minor, you're holding your ring fingers probably already playing the second fret there on the G, right? So all you have to do is leave that there, but then move and play the second fret on the low E as well. And then you can have those 4 bottom strings ring, that's all you need. Across to the G. So each one is just being hit once. So. And then when we get to that G, just like we did whenever we were playing the G before, has that little pull off from 1 to 0 on the B, kind of holds it. And then it goes back to the F, but this time you can hear this high, this note on top, the 9th. So we're gonna go back to the original way we played it. If you can do it, if you can like grab that, it'll thicken up the sound a little bit here, because it does sound a little bigger in the bridge. Still grab that first fret if you can on the low E string, and you can have the open A, it's fine. Or just that top, like we did before. Then back to just straight to the A minor, and then the G. All right, so once again, we're doing the pulse on the G. So that whole bridge progression all together is this. It'll repeat every to the G the second time through at the end, it just strums that twice as long. So you got to the point where you could do 4 pull-offs instead of 2. All right, then we're back to the verse. So when he gets to this verse, after the first time of playing that bridge, this verse is the exact same as the first verse that we did. So there's no holding of the G, there's no like the second time through isn't different anymore. It's just the same straight. All 4 times. So nothing new there. So just like verse 1. Then we get to the chorus. So this one's just like the first chorus where we do all that G in the second time through the progression, but he, instead of just having the whole progression, the chord progression go through 4 times like we have in the verse and choruses before, he does it 5 times here. So we basically add an extra and then it still has that ending. So it's basically the same as the previous chorus, but we just have that little added little progression through it. So let me just show you what this is. So we're basically going through this progression 5 times instead of 4, and the second time through we're going to be holding the G. So it should be pretty easy from there. So it looks like this. Add one more. And that ending. All right, so then that just takes us to the bridge again. It's the same thing we did before. Kind of ends the song like this. Kind of ends on just strums that last G and you're good to go. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's not too involved, just a little bit of variation in there. It could be a little bit confusing, but once you know the song well enough, it shouldn't be that difficult. It's mostly the same thing repeating throughout the song. And then of course that bridge section, the chords do move around pretty quickly, so that could be a bit of a challenge, but hope you guys enjoy it. All right, I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.